definitely not easy getting up this early every morning when it's still dark and trying to eat a lot. I'm not used to that anymore, but it's important to really have good nutrition and eat as much as you can for these long days. So today's gonna be, I think, one of the longest days of the race. You eat when you can here because the trails are so rough and so technical that for me, as soon as I see like a little let up in technical trail, or we jump on a fire road or a gravel road, I'll eat. It doesn't really matter when it is. So starting from 20K on, as soon as I get a section where it's not that bumpy, I'll eat.
112 kilometers from Elandskirk to Elgin-Grabouw.
My last mountain bike race at a high level was the 2001 World Championship some 16 years ago. There I raced, we had disc brakes, 2x9, 2x10 I think, about 60mm front travel, 25mm rear travel. Here we go to 100mm rear travel, electronic lockout, electronic shifting. Biggest improvement from when I raced is in the tyres, tubeless tyre technology and puncture resistance, which means you can just push so much harder, but also what that allows you to do is utilise, because of course you're pushing harder, you're going faster, you can utilise the suspension better. Whereas before I was limited by puncturing and pinch flatting, now you can push so much harder and yeah, ultimately go faster. It's the wheel size is the biggest step of all. I'm 29 inches, which is of course much more stable, not as quite as manoeuvrable, but much more stable.
Yeah, so I actually haven't spent much time on the BMC 4-stroke. I got it, I want to say in December sometime. So, you know, from December on, I started riding the bike probably 3-4 days a week. But Monday was my longest ride ever on a mountain bike by far. You know, I've never done more than 3.5-4 hours on a mountain bike. And Monday was 5 hours and change. So, but the bike is incredible. I mean, the handles really well, just really responsive. You know, when you're on these trails getting just beat up, it's really important to have a bike that you trust underneath you, and a bike that handles well, and a bike that you can just let it all hang out in the downhills.
It really pushed the bikes to the limits today. I don't know if there's a chain lube invented yet that can last that long in these dry, dusty conditions. And most of all, you just, the dust and the constant pounding, the trails, the roads, even the gravel roads here are corrugated. Then you're like going through farm paddocks and things, but they've been ploughed but 10 years ago, and you can't even take one hand off the handlebar to take a drink because it's so rough. So even often riding uphill, I'm quite well, I try to utilise the suspension as much as I can on the downhill. I'm often locking it out because of my road background, and I like the acceleration, and it's also a bit easier on my legs when I'm climbing. But it's you're often unlocking the suspension even on the flat rolling stuff because it is just so rough all the time. And then of course on the equipment, the tyres, everything's very, very stressed. I have never gone on a mountain bike training ride of more than 100 kilometres. Today the stage was 110.
In terms of changes, I mean, we put slightly bigger tires on. You know, not much else. We changed the grips, a little bit more comfortable grips.
The electronic shifting has not had any problem whatsoever. That's been fantastic. I find myself often with the lockout, rather than shift up a gear higher, just lock it out for a bit just to make it over a rise, so it's just a little bit more efficient.
Today went well. Just before the last single track, we got away from Bart and his teammate, and we managed to put some time into them and also win the stage for the second day in a row.
Ladies and gentlemen, the BMC AMSA Racing Team, George Hincapie, Cadell Evans, winning the Dimension Data Masters category, first into 830, they do it again. Cadell Evans and George Hincapie.